And I have the ability to share my screen, right?
Yeah, because you're a co-host.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it should let you.
Share screen. Share screen too. You can see my screen, okay?
Yeah, I can see it now.
That looks good.
Yeah, it looks good.
Okay. Okay. All right. Well, welcome everybody. Thank you for taking the time this evening. We'll go over some housekeeping items. First of all, again, thank you for joining us. The topic for this evening is going to be about human resources. Valeria will be recording this meeting. It can be made available to you in the next, I don't know, Valeria, how long does it take?
I should be able to send it tomorrow to her.
Tomorrow? Okay, so that's pretty quick.
Yeah.
You can hit your microphone on mute. Feel free to turn on your cameras. It helps the speaker not look at an empty blank square. All right, and let's begin. Let's tackle this. Well, first of all, let's begin with a word of prayer. This prayer specifically for administrators and managers that work for the church. It's composed by the former president of Loyola University, Father Raymond. Blessed are you, Lord our God, creator of all that exists, source of life and growth, of peace and joy. We bless you for all your sons and daughters. The gift of administration is yours, and you share it in your goodness with persons like us. Please give us vision and wisdom to those engaged in governance, good judgment, and courage to supervisors. Faith and a sense of justice for all who work as managers. Help us to remember that you share with us the power to administer, and that the work we do is your work. Give us the satisfaction and the joy in the performance of this work. Bless us always with your presence, your insight, your compassion. Then we will recognize you anew and praise you as you really are, Master of all that we are and do, the mighty and reverend God. Blessed are you, Lord God, who share with us the gift of administration. Okay. We do have these available, this prayer as a bookmark available. If you would like to receive one, you can indicate your name on the comments and the location where you're from, and we can make sure that you receive this prayer for administrators. Part of it for the human resources, a lot of it has to do with the Catholic social teaching. And as a faith-based organization, we're looking to do work with justice, most of all. It's a fundamental piece. It starts with Catholic social teaching. And the principles of the Catholic social teaching will apply to all Christian organizations. We value the people that do the work. We believe in the dignity of all individuals. We know our work makes our mission happen. And therefore, we believe that the dignity of the work and the dignity of that individual, it's the way that we're going to be able to carry out our mission. And that reflects on us as a faith-based organization. We have the ability to do this with great skill, even with skills learned in the corporate secular world. However, with our own stamp of identity, and believe that we can do this a way that is faith-based. What is church human resources? It's the relationship that we have with the personnel. That includes both clergy and lay individuals, whether they're paid or just do it on a volunteer basis, so we can achieve the mission. It's important as well for the volunteers that work with us. Because we serve with governance, we have responsibilities regards to administration as well. Church human resources policies should be fair. They should also establish clear expectations and provide for effective performance evaluation. Church human resources must fundamentally reflect who we are as a church. So let's begin. Here are some of the agenda items. We're going to talk a little bit about the Diocese of Yakima events calendar. We're also going to describe to you what are some of the resources available as part of the HR Toolkit. Briefly talk about the background checks and also talk about the hiring guide, and in more explain the hourly versus salary, because I think that's a subject that we have not really talked about. All right, so at the Diocese of Yakima, every week we have things that are changing or new events that are taking place. It's important to organize these in one location. And I'd like to invite you that if you have the opportunity to visit our website, all these events are posted on the diocesan website. This week, the events calendar will be going out in the weekly mailing. Something new as part of the events calendar is we now have a point of contact listed for more information. The events calendar also lists the diocesan holidays and holy days as well. Retreats for deacons, for youth, as well as for family retreats, those are also included there. Also, for your own personal calendars, I'd like to share with you that we have a date set for the Mission Congress for this year, which is October 15th. And if there are any events at your local parish that you would like to include, you feel free to contact Stephanie, and I've included her contact information. All right, so for the Diocese of Yakima, we have what's called the HR Toolkit. And a way to locate it, it's under the black menu bar on the website, locate ministries, HR, and then the HR Toolkit. The resources are a variation of forms, information, past memos that have been added to the HR Toolkit to help us reference on what's important related to topics specifically to human resources. Topics such as recruitment and the hiring. I do want to mention that part of the new hire checklist, there's one component that has been recently updated, which is the Washington State mandated reporting. It's very important for all bookkeepers to complete that form as part of the new hiring process. Washington State might be using it for purposes of either past child support responsibilities, or debt that they owe. Okay. The other item that is covered is information about leaves. So when any employees are to take any leaves, we have the forms readily available for you. If in the process of providing an employee a leave, there's any questions, feel free to reach out. We're here to help you. There, with regards to employee terminations, we do have a separation checklist that can help you, guide you through the process of what to do when an employee is no longer an employee. Also, what to do in case there's an injury on the job. The employment posters that should be posted where employees are able to see them, maybe like a break room. We make sure that every December before the new year, we post the newest poster on there for you. There's volunteer information, the driving course, field trip resources for the schools, as well as the employee policies. Just covering briefly regarding the background checks, the main goal of that is any type of abuse of a minor by diocesan personnel violates human dignity, ministerial commitment, and the mission of the church. Therefore, the major purpose of the background check policy is for the safety of minors, the well-being of the community, and the integrity of the church. Along with the requirement of background checks, we also have the Safe Environment Program that we participate in. The individuals that need to complete a background check would be employees, whether they work full-time or they work part-time, whether they're seasonal or just working here temporarily. All employees of the diocese need to successfully pass a background check. Then the background checks are processed and repeated after 6 years. The vendor that we use is called selection.com. All volunteers that have ongoing unsupervised contact with minors or vulnerable adults must also successfully pass a criminal background check. This includes as well as anybody whose ministry involved with vulnerable adults and children in which they provide transportation, that would be included as well. In addition, anybody who handles cash. Okay. There are certain limitations, such as prior convictions, that would limit the ability for the work or volunteer. And these would be either crimes against children, crimes related to drugs, financial exploitation, or criminal driving offenses. We are able to run background checks without a social security number, as long as the declaration on the reverse side form is completed if the person doesn't have a social. Most of all, we'd like to reassure that the information provided on the background check form is handled with utmost care. Now, out of everybody here, how many people do we have, Valeria? Anybody here, have you been involved or been part of a hiring committee of a new employee? No? No? Okay. Well, this is a funny cartoon. I've always wondered why you decided to be a dog. I was fooled by the job description. So then that kind of leads us to our next topic regarding the hiring guide, right? As part of hiring a new employee, and there's just so many components of it when there's a new position that's available, whether that be at a church or at a parish. But the process is, there's just a lot of steps. And what we offer is the hiring guide. And the hiring guide is a tool that helps supervisors with all the required information to be able to maintain compliance with diocesan policies, the procedures that we have, payroll-wise, mainly for compliance with any federal requirements, civil law. Right. For the Diocese of Yakima, it is preferred that if a position becomes available, that it's posted on AppleTrack. AppleTrack is the online portal that we use. There, however, have been instances where positions have not been posted on AppleTrack, but those we have received the paper application, but those have been mainly for positions where perhaps technology was not as relevant for the position, and maybe like a janitor position, for example. is when we've done paper applications. But to ensure that we maintain consistent in our process, it is preferred that the use of Apple Track would be the method. As you're preparing to open up a position, you analyze the needs of the parish and also take into consideration in preparing a budget. If needed, organize a hiring committee. It's important to develop the job description, and this is where we come. Determine exactly, will the position be an exempt or will this be an hourly paid employee? We do offer the ability to assist parishes and schools in the advertisement of positions. Sometimes we posted the positions not only on the Diocese of Yakima website, we have posted it on Indeed. That brings pretty good results. We've done LinkedIn, CatholicJobs.com. We've also used Handshake, which is sort of like a portal where you upload a job description and a job posting, and it shares it with many universities around the United States. You can concentrate on just posting it for certain ones like Washington State and maybe surrounding states, or there are other other universities that it can also be posted at. It also walks you through the process on how to review and prioritize applications. There are sample interview questions, and there are also sample information or sample responses to provide to candidates who have applied. If there is an individual that has moved on to the next step in the hiring process, there are reference check questions as well as sample thank you letters. So that's a little bit about the hiring guide for new employees. But now what we're going to talk about is really understanding the categories of what it means to be an exempt employee, a non-exempt employee, salaried and hourly. Okay, so an exempt employee is an individual who is exempt from the overtime provision of the Fair Labor Standards Act because they're classified as either an executive, a professional, or administrative employee. But in order to qualify for this, there is specific criteria. Exempt employees must be paid on a salary basis, with the exception of certainly highly paid computer professionals. Non-exempt employees are individuals who are not exempt from the overtime provision of the Fair Labor Standards Act and are therefore covered by the provisions of the Fair Labor Standards Act. Such an individual is therefore entitled to receive overtime for all the hours that they work past 40 hours in a work week. Non-exempt employees may be paid on either a salaried or an hourly basis. However, if it's paid by the hour, you need to make sure that they meet the minimum wage for all the hours that they work. Effective January 1st of 2022, the hourly rate will be $14.49. Salaried are the individuals who receive the same salary week to week, regardless, no matter how many hours they work. Exempt employees must be paid on a salary basis, and the non-exempt employees must be voluntarily paid on a salary basis, and typically would not have their pay docked if they work less than the agreed upon hours, with the exception of the time allocated to paid leave that the company provides. Salaried non-exempt employees must still receive the overtime in accordance with federal and state laws. For hourly employees, it's an individual who receives an hourly wage for the work performed. Such individuals, because of their method of payment, are classified as non-exempt and are subject to the overtime provisions. The only exception might be for highly paid computer professionals. And again, I mentioned the minimum wage effective since it falls within the hourly category. Okay. I included the link below because there is a fact sheet on the L&I website that is very helpful. But here we have more an easier understanding of just the general terms of the exempt versus the non-exempt. Where the exempt just gets a salary. Okay. And it indicates the different categories: executive, professional, and administrative. Then they're not eligible for overtime pay. For the non-exempt, always need to remember that they need to be paid the minimum wage at least, hourly rate, and they are eligible for overtime. Now, there are some rules that have recently been updated regarding the minimum threshold for those that are salaried exempt. And I put it in red at the very bottom. Oops, I misspelled January. New for January 2022. The threshold will change. So right now it stands at 42,712. Next year it's going to go up to 52,743.80. I remember that we explained that there are the 3 different categories, whether that be executive, administrative, professional. In order for a salaried exempt employee to qualify for this, they need to meet the criteria. Okay, and so we're going to be taking a look at what exactly that entails to be sure that they qualify to be exempt, because I think that they're okay, let's take a look. So the first one is the executive test. This would fall under somebody that perhaps manages. They have the primary to manage the business or a department or a subdivision of the business. They work customarily, or they work with at least overseeing at least 2 or more employees. They have the authority to hire and fire or also promote employees with their recommendations. That would also count as well. For the salary threshold, paid on a salary basis, and the amount of the salary is equal to or no greater than the salary threshold. And I again noted the new change that's coming up for 2022. For the administrative test, their work cannot be, it's non-manual work. Some of their responsibilities would be relating to managing or operating the business. They can, for example, run the business by help with compose policies, serve with their expertise and advice, management, and help perform special assignments. They can use discretion and judgment in major decision making and have authority on it. And again, for the salary threshold, the same would apply as the one previously explained. There are administrative ones that would also qualify, such as superintendents or academic counselors or academic heads that would qualify under the administrative one. Okay. For the professional, there's 2 different ones. two categories that fall under the professional. One is the learned professional, and the other one is the creative. Under the learned professional, that one requires a bit of advanced knowledge in a specific intellectual field, such as science, technology, or accounting. It's something where there was lengthy specialized instruction, or they have a certain graduate degree, for example, if it's or a specialized certification, say for example, like a CPA. Consistently use discretion and judgment in performing their primary work. So again, it cannot be manual. For the creative professionals, a good example with that would probably be like a music director, for example. And the primary duty is either creative or in the artistic field. Requires invention, imagination, originality, talent. Again, there are educational professions that fall under the professional category as well. And these could also be, for example, teachers. They can be paid on a salary or a fee basis. However, no minimum salary threshold applies as it did on the other cases, specifically only for teachers. The other one would be computer professional, such as a system analyst, a programmer, a software engineer, where their main focus would probably be system analysis procedures, or consulting others how to do certain processes, specifically about computer software and system functional specifications. And also the salary or the fee basis equal to or no greater than the salary threshold. The other one is sales, but we're not really going to talk about that because it doesn't really pertain to our field of the kind of people that work for our schools or our parishes. I would like to share with you some helpful resources as you determine in your locations if there is an employee that is in question. The Department of L&I has what's called the e-learning module. It's an online tool that provides information regarding the overtime rules and guides also the users through some questions that can help you determine, well, is this really an employee with all their responsibilities, somebody that would qualify as an exempt employee under the new threshold of the 52,000-ish starting in 2022. So it walks you step by step. And anytime as well, we're here available at the diocese to help you determine with your employees if it would be something that would apply. Under the L&I website as well, there are webinars that you can attend. And I've also included the job duties fact sheets with a link that also serve as a resource that can help guide you through this. I know one of the biggest questions, for example, is, and I'm just going to choose a scenario where, say, like there is an employee who is an administrative assistant or administrative, like an office, parish office manager, which is one of the most common. And it might be perhaps more flexible to have them as on a salary basis. However, most of the time they do not oversee more than 2 employees, or they don't oversee because maybe any employees, because maybe the pastor oversees the other employees. So in situations like that, as we learned, they can be on a salary. However, we need to make sure that they still submit their calendars with the hours that they work for purposes of overtime. And the two main important reasons is whatever that salary agreement is between that parish office manager and the pastor, it needs to meet the minimum wage for the state of Washington. It also, we also need to know that if they go over their hours, they need to be paid for overtime, which would be time and a half. Okay. There, I want to make sure I covered all of these items. I think I did. I know this could be a little confusing whether choosing for under the responsibilities of an employee to see if they really qualify as an exempt employee, but we have learned that yes, an hourly paid employee can be paid on a salary, but I'd like to take this opportunity to see if I can help answer some questions. Any questions? No? Clear? Hopefully. Okay. Well, all right. So say, for example, we've hired an individual. We've gone through the hiring process. We have completed the background check. We've completed the onboarding process with that employee. Our guidance was the new hire checklist. And it doesn't end there. It's important for supervisors to be able to communicate to the employee how it is that they're doing. The diocese and the policies does have the introductory period where the first 180 days, it's an introductory period. See really if that person is a good fit for the work that they're doing. And it's fair to them to complete a self-evaluation submitted to their supervisor. And then the supervisor also completes an evaluation and they meet. And the purpose is to have better communication, set clear expectations. Also, make sure that if there are any updates from the time that they started employment to the time that they're now completed the introductory period, if there's anything in that job description that needs to be added, or was the job description perhaps different than what they were expecting, it's really an opportunity for both the employee and the supervisor to sit down and really learn from one another, have good communication. Okay. Okay, so this is a cup that I have in my office, and sometimes where there are so many unexpected things that happen in human resources, then the little angel, it's an angel, it says faith in HR. That kind of one leads me to the next one, where let's talk a little bit about employee terminations. For the Diocese of Yakima, every diocese is different. I know Spokane, every parish and every school, they have their five. They're each one is separate. They're not like us. So when we get sued, actually, it's not even a certain location. It's actually the corporation of the Catholic Bishop of Yakima. And so it's always good to know that a forced resignation litigates the same as a wrongful termination. whenever there are situations at a school or a parish, it's important to not take decisions right away if it's going to be a termination. It needs prior approval from our diocesan attorney. We need to review the case. We need to analyze what has been going on that led up to this point. And if the recommendation is approved, then we can proceed with the termination. And again, there are so many components of human resources, but it's really only key items that I wanted to share with you today. Let me see. But at any time that you need assistance with an employee termination, I think that was the main highlight, that everything always requires pre-approval for our diocesan attorney to review. As a guide, we also, just how we have the new hire checklist for employees and to bring them on board, we do also recommend that the locations use the employee separation checklist for employees that will be separated. And there's my contact information. I'd like to take the opportunity to see if there's any questions. Let's see.
Diana, Carrie had a question when you gave the example of the office manager. Is the timesheets need to be used, or do they need to have a timesheet? Sorry.
Yes. So we do need the timesheets. So even if the pastor decides that I'm an office manager and we come to an agreement that my salary is $35,000 a year, and I submit my calendar for payroll purposes, yes, we would need timesheets, because if there was a week that I go over my agreed upon work hours, say I work 7 hours every day, but on one specific week I work more, then I need to be paid time and a half. And it's really for purposes of overtime, because if I don't, that could leave where the parish would be in trouble. You have to, in situations like that, you have to pay back wages. And I don't think a parish or a school wants to be in a situation where they have to pay back wages for not having maintained time calendars. Okay, any other questions? I'm just looking at the comments, but if there's any other questions that I've missed. Oh, Carrie, I think you're on mute. Oh, okay, now I can hear you.
Okay, hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
The driving course, I don't know anything about this. You had mentioned it in like the first slide.
Oh, yes. So it's really important for the parishes to, if they have volunteers, and if they have, for example, individuals that drive students to field trips, there is a driving course offered through our insurance, the Catholic Mutual, and it's a short course, but it's really good for individuals to have. If I know it's definitely required for those that drive a diocesan vehicle, a school vehicle, a parish, if they have a vehicle, that is required as part of a requirement. And if there's anybody that has questions about that, you can reach out to your pastor, or if you also need further information, Valeria or myself can help with those questions as well. Any other questions? And everybody had the opportunity to, we were going to do a raffle. I think everybody's going to be the winner. How many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like about 6 we can send out gifts to, because what do you think, Valeria?
Yeah, we can do that. We can send it to all of them.
Okay.
Present.
All right, sounds good. Well, if there are no any other questions, in the future, maybe if you do have questions, there's my contact information. Okay. All right. Well, I hope to see you at the Mission Congress, October 15th at Holy Family. We will soon be having the registration open on the website. We look forward to having you part of our event. Thank you and have a good evening.